I am Mark Tanzig and I'm a board member for the Damayan Garden Project. At the Frenchtown Garden, I'm considered the garden manager, and I'm in charge of just keeping it maintained, keeping things growing, and keeping the volunteers active and engaged in the garden, as well as distributing the food and directing folks to what they need to do.
Well, I volunteered as a freshman back in early 2010, and then whenever my work schedule allowed, I came back and I started working as a facilitator in the summer of 2012. What I do for the community outreach program is make sure all the volunteers are good to go and that kind of thing. But the most important thing is that I drive the van out here. So I get all the volunteers who sign up for the week to come out with us. Really, anyone who's a student over at Florida State can sign up. What we do is we put out a sign-up sheet a week prior to the trip, and then anyone who wants can come and sign up, and then they just meet back up before the actual trip leaves. So around 4:15 every Thursday, I'll be at the FSU Center, and then all the volunteers will meet up with us, and we'll get in the van and come here.
The Frenchtown Garden started in 2007, and it started as a cooperation of several groups, including Damayan Garden Project, the Leon County Health Department, the City Parks and Rec Department, and the Front Porch Florida Initiative. They were looking at ways to fight childhood obesity and other chronic disease. They knew that gardening and healthy eating was part of it. So they picked this as the site to put in a garden, and I was at the time the only community member who came and volunteered to maintain the garden on a weekly basis. And that's how I became involved with Damayan, because once I started at Frenchtown, I really liked what Damayan Garden Project was doing. I joined the board, and I've been with them since 2008.
What we tend to do is do all the soil preparation, that kind of stuff, make sure all the beds look nice, and then Mark does a very good job of coming out here and getting everything ready for the kids, and then all they have to do is come out and do the fun part, which is either planting the seeds or harvesting the vegetables or eating. A lot of kids like to do that.
The events hosted at the Frenchtown Garden is typically the weekly workday, where every Thursday at 4:30 I come to the garden, and whoever wants to play in the garden, from the children in the center, a lot of the children, the small children in the community center, this is their first exposure to gardening. And even a lot of the FSU students who come and volunteer in the garden, they're new to gardening, so I teach them. We talk about composting, we talk about planting seeds, we talk about mulching. They're learning what plant is what, when you're supposed to plant it, when to harvest it, and how to eat it.
What I love about working with the Damayan Garden Project is really the enthusiasm of everyone I'm around. And what I love about coming out to Frenchtown is all the kids who come out and they're excited about seeing all these different vegetables and everything. It's just, I remember the first time coming out here, I was just totally amazed by all these kids who were trying raw vegetables and all this kind of stuff. And some of the vegetables I hadn't even tried before, as an 18, 19-year-old. So I was really impressed by just how excited everyone was to be out here and be learning and gardening. The greatest thing that I'll take from this experience after all of this is really just that anybody can do this. And I think that's one thing that Mark tries to stress, is that he wants people to come out here and see that this is where your food comes from. And for me, I didn't have a background knowing how to garden or anything like that. And ever since I started volunteering with Damayan, I've been gardening at my house and trying to grow my own vegetables. I think it's a pretty exciting thing to do and watch, and I'm always surprised by how much plants are growing. So I really enjoy just really knowing more about how to garden, and especially knowing that there are people who are so committed to the idea of community gardens.
The greatest thing I will take from this experience is feeling like I've done something to teach young children how to grow food. And I don't expect all of them to grow up to be gardeners, but I think some of them will be, and they're going to remember this experience, and they're going to maybe try to grow vegetables on their own when they're older.